Virgin Galactic. Let's look at the past, the future, where we go from here. Now we've got the stock price dramatically down by a reverse split. Let's see where we go now. Let's challenge this analysis. This analysis was done by Richard Durant, and thank you very much for this. We're going to go through now all the parts of Virgin Galactic and see if it's still a wise investment for us. We know that the stock price has been decimated recently with no sign of it returning. So let's go and have a look at the past, where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And as we go through this piece, we will challenge the different points and see what conclusions we can come to at the end. So stick with me to the end, and by the end of this video, there will be full analysis, projections, and ideas of where we go next. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Please do tap the like button and share this out with as many people as possible. And if you do like my content, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you don't miss anything. All right, let's go into it. So first of all, thank you, Richard, for your piece here, and let's have a look at these facts and discuss them together. Virgin Galactic faces a bleak future due to its dwindling cash reserves, limited market capitalization, and uncertain path to profitability. While the introduction of Delta-class ships could help the company ramp commercial operations, this is at least 2 years away and will require significant investment. This is why the stock price is so far down now, and for 18 months to 2 years, the stock price could go sideways. However, as we get news of Delta, as we get closer to Delta, people will want to buy back in as not to miss. But right now, you could do better elsewhere rather than parking your money going nowhere. Virgin Galactic's market capitalization makes raising capital difficult, meaning that any issues or delays are likely to prove fatal. I agree with that. Right now, the company might need to dilute, and with the stock price already falling, that becomes increasingly difficult. Going to others to ask for money doesn't look so attractive either, as the stock price has been coming down so much recently. Let's carry on with this piece. There we go. Virgin Galactic finds itself in the unenviable but fairly common position of large losses, a dwindling cash reserve, and murky path to profitability. Given the company's current market capitalization and financials, there is limited leeway in demonstrating that the business is viable so that capital can be raised on more favorable terms. This is one of the issues that I have. It's going to be hard to find funds right now because the stock price is so low and it keeps going lower. Why would anyone want to back this business? There is limited leeway in demonstrating that the business is viable so that capital can be raised on more favorable terms. This is heavily dependent on bringing new Delta-class ships into operation and significantly ramping flight volumes while maintaining cost discipline. Richard goes on to suggest that Virgin Galactic had all of the hallmarks of a bubble: a small market capitalization, high uncertainty, over fundamental value, leadership in a new industry which captures the imagination of retail investors, and the potential for extraordinary returns if the company is successful. This has subsequently proven to be the case, with the stock down by around 97% since then. While Virgin Galactic is no longer a bubble, the company still hasn't demonstrated that it's financially viable. In addition, Virgin Galactic probably doesn't have enough liquidity to reach break-even and may not be able to raise enough additional capital. That is certainly an issue. If it takes too long or there's a slight delay getting to Delta, we could very, very easily run out of money and the company follow Virgin orbit in going bankrupt. We hope that isn't the case. The market In recent years, the private space sector has grown rapidly, supported by declining costs. This rapid declining costs is enabling applications like human spaceflight, launch and transport, scientific research, space infrastructure and services, and space energy. Virgin Galactic has chosen to enter this market by primarily offering human spaceflight for recreational purposes. As a new market, there is considerable uncertainty regarding demand for this type of service. Virgin Galactic's initial reservations indicate strong demand, though. I question how demand will hold up if any service providers manage to genuinely scale, though, as space tourism demand is likely to be driven in large part by exclusivity. Repeat customers will also likely be the exception rather than the rule, making the long-term viability of the business questionable. Now, I'm not so sure I agree with that, because the way I see it, as we go forward, Virgin Galactic is likely and is going to build spaceports around the world, and you're going to get the opportunity to see Earth from different parts. You're going to see from space different parts of Earth, and I think people will find that appealing, particularly when we start looking at the hotels and all the rest of it in the whole experience. So I think there is room for challenge there. This exasperated by the fact that Virgin Galactic's claim to space travel is somewhat tenuous. There is no rocket launch, and Virgin Galactic only reaches an elevation of 50 miles below the Kármán line at 100 kilometers, and more widely accepted barrier to be considered an astronaut. We want to challenge that as well, because the Kármán line has recently been upgraded and has been changed from when the line was originally set. There's no real debate anymore that we are in space. Remember, we're a tiny, tiny fraction off the surface of the Earth. When you go out into space, space runs forever and ever and ever. What's important is to be off the planet, in the darkness and weightlessness. We can go on forever calling it space. Is it space? If we are in the darkness and we are zero gravity, we are in space. That is the experience that people want, to see the curvature of the Earth, to look down and get that experience is what it's all about. And Virgin Galactic certainly delivers on that. Research suggests that consumers are willing to spend 1 to 1.5% of their net worth on a single discretionary purchase with Virgin Galactic, which Virgin Galactic believes is supported by its reservations. I have to agree there. There are plenty of people in the world who feel this is a viable experience. I certainly would like to fly, and I have plans to fly myself. I believe there are plenty of people in the world that will see this as a viable proposition. My experience of having friends who are millionaires and billionaires is that those type of people are looking for one thing more than anything else, and that is life experiences. They have the new car, they have the house, they want experiences, and I believe 100% that people will regard this as an experience that they cannot afford to miss. So I'm not concerned about that point. Based on this, Virgin Galactic has estimated its core TAM based on the number of individuals with a net worth in excess of $10 million. Demand appears to be highly elastic, meaning that the market could be expanded significantly if ticket prices can be reduced below $100,000. Based on Virgin Galactic's current cost predictions, it appears unlikely that the company can offer ticket prices below $200,000 in the near term, though. Absolutely agree with that. I don't think we're going to see the prices come down too quickly, but I do believe they will come down in time. That, after all, is what Delta is all about. But again, trust me, many people have $200,000 to spend on an experience like this. So that doesn't concern me at all. Virgin Galactic is currently planning on pricing tickets at around $600,000 each. While this may be viable initially, it may not be sustainable in the face of increased supply and even moderate competition. That is a concern. Competition will come down the line. There's no two ways about that. I think competition is going to catch up with Virgin Galactic. That is a concern. That may happen. And if they have any delay or any accidents, of course, there's always the chance of an accident, then competition could easily take over, or perhaps buy out Virgin Galactic, and then Virgin Galactic becomes a private company. Anyway, we shall see. Launch costs as well below Virgin Galactic's price point and declining rapidly. Pricing will presumably converge towards launch costs over time. In addition to its core space tourism market, Virgin Galactic wants to expand into high-speed point-to-point travel. That as yet is not priced in. So when that's priced in, Virgin Galactic has a whole extra business model, a bit like Tesla, for example, which can't price in Optimus at the moment. It's only pricing in the selling of the cars. That's a very important point. The commercial aviation market is worth in excess of $900 billion, with the commercial passenger travel market alone worth more than $600 billion. That's an important point. However, it's important to mention, as an avid fan of Shark Tank, I watch it a lot. Investors don't like to hear about a business which has or talks about, if I only had 1% of all the iPhones sold, I'd be a gazillionaire. It doesn't matter. Trying to gain 1% of a huge market is extremely difficult. So it's true to say that it's a large market, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because there's a large market doesn't mean you only need 1% of it. That 1% is just as hard, if not harder, to obtain than it is a larger proportion of a smaller industry, because the competition is a lot more aggressive. Competition is a critical consideration, as the economics of space tourism could be terrible if the market becomes commoditized. Blue Origin is probably Virgin Galactic's primary competitor at this point in time. Blue Origin has more diversified business than Virgin Galactic, and probably, I beg your pardon, Blue Origin is probably Virgin Galactic's primary competitor at this point in time. Blue Origin has more diversified business than Virgin Galactic, with its offerings including launch services, space tourism, and aerospace manufacturing. The company's spaceship consists of a reusable booster rocket and crew capsule, which can hold up to 6 passengers. This capsule actually crosses the Kármán line before returning to Earth using 3 parachutes and a solid rocket. Blue Origin has now flown 37 private astronauts. Let's talk about that for a moment. Blue Origin, in my opinion, is no competition whatsoever. I don't think that people who want a first-class experience are really looking to plop down in the desert on a parachute. I don't mean that to sound disrespectful to Blue Origin, but it's not quite the same service, is it, as when we see Virgin Galactic take off and land from the same place and then go and sip the champagne and then check into the hotel. I think dropping down into a desert and then waiting for the local bus, I am, of course, exaggerating there. You know what I mean. I don't think it's the same experience, the same kind of technology whatsoever. Now, SpaceX, of course, that's a whole different ball game if we can take off and land like that, but that's a lot more expensive, so no competition there. Virgin Galactic has developed the VMS Eve mothership to transport its spaceships to 45,000 feet, including the thrust required for each space. VMS Eve is the world's largest all-composite aircraft in service. Virgin Galactic believes that using a specialized aircraft for the first stage of flight enables more frequent operations. Not only frequent operations, but also much more efficient. Very important to remember the efficiency. The hard part is to get off the ground. And once we're already approaching a certain height, then drop the rocket makes sense. It's a much more viable way of doing it. I understand that's why they're doing it. It's a good business model, in my opinion. VMS Unity is Virgin Galactic's spaceship. It was the first private crewed spacecraft built for commercial service and is capable of transporting up to 6 passengers. The company's first passenger flight was early in 2019, although progress has been fairly limited since then. Unity utilizes a hybrid rocket engine to propel the craft to over Mach 3. The Unity ship reaches a height of 50 miles, with passengers briefly experiencing microgravity before re-entering the Earth's atmosphere and gliding back to the spaceport, like we've seen here in this video. You can see the way it just glides back down and returns to Earth. I think it's a fantastic way to go. Just wonderful to watch. No matter how many times I watch this, it always seems really, really enjoyable. Anyway, Virgin Galactic's experience extends to training and peripheral services, the spaceport tour, ceremony, celebratory party, etc. The company currently has one spaceport, which Virgin Galactic believes can support revenue in excess of $1 billion annually. That's very important to mention, because as we go forward, it's all going to be about the experiences and not just the flight. That's going to be the smallest part of it, even though it is the main part of it. There'll be many more business opportunities around in the flights. Virgin Galactic is still in the process of establishing a commercial service, which will be aided by the introduction of a new spaceship that can fly more frequently. After this is achieved, Virgin Galactic wants to reduce prices as the business scales, supporting market expansion. Virgin Galactic then wants to expand globally and eventually enter the long-haul travel market. Exactly. There are many, many more things to come along the way with Virgin Galactic as we go. Galactic 7 on June 8th was the last commercial VSS Unity. This was Virgin Galactic's 7th commercial flight and 12th overall space flight. The flight carried a mix of private and research astronauts and was expected to realize an average per seat price over $800,000. While Unity is being replaced, it will continue to play a role in training and will reside in Spaceport America. Based on insights from initial flights, Virgin Galactic is now in the process of moving to a new spaceship design, which will be capable of flying more frequently. Delta ships will provide the same experience as Unity, but require less maintenance and enabling weekly flights. The Delta ship is also larger and will transport 6 passengers instead of 4. Virgin Galactic expects to commence commercial services with 2 Delta ships in 2026. This appears to be a very aggressive timeline, though. The Delta ships are reportedly heavily based on the VSS Imagine, which was built in 2023 but never flown. This could help streamline the introduction of the Delta, but this is far from guaranteed. After the first 2 Delta ships become operational, Virgin Galactic expects to be cash flow positive. Now, this is a very, very important point, because we've been plagued with delays for years with Virgin Galactic, and there's every reason to expect delays again. And if we do get delays, then the company will be forced to dilute, the shareholder will lose again, and ultimately the business could fail and go bankrupt. Nothing here is guaranteed. This is something in this report analysis I agree with. Virgin Galactic is also leveraging an Iron Bird test rig to support the introduction of the Delta class ship. The Iron Bird allows Virgin Galactic to test and verify the operation of Delta subsystems, avionics, feather actuation, and pneumatics on the ground and in and in parallel to assembly. The company hoped that this will help to streamline test flights. Ground testing of the Delta-class spaceships has already commenced. For the Delta development program, Virgin Galactic is in charge of design and is leveraging the manufacturing and engineering capabilities of key partners. Incremental Delta ships are expected to cost 50 to 60 million US dollars each. Future costs are relatively low because the designs are already completed and a supply chain will be in place. Following the conclusion of the Delta spaceship design, Virgin Galactic will begin moving resources towards its next generation mothership program. The company is currently targeting a 2028 delivery date for the next generation mothership, while Virgin is trying to manage its cash position by delaying the introduction of a new mothership. It's not clear that this will meaningfully alter the company's trajectory. Very important. And, looking at those points, that's where we talk about how the company could run out of money before time. And we already know that Sir Richard Branson has said that he's not going to invest anymore. Now, of course, he can change his mind, but if you think that Sir Richard Branson is a white knight, he's not anymore. He's an elderly gentleman, and his finances aren't anywhere near what they were 10, 15, or even 20 years ago. It's a very different prospect. He's flown, he's got his dream, and I don't think he's going to be lining up to bail out this company. Bear that in mind. Issues with Boeing are also likely driving the delayed introduction of the new mothership. Boeing's Aurora Flight Sciences was supposed to be helping design the new mothership, but this relationship fell apart, with Aurora claiming that the ship that would cost more to develop than expected, and Virgin Galactic claiming that Aurora performed shoddy and incomplete work. Boeing has sued Virgin Galactic for failing to pay for work and return IP. Virgin Galactic believes that the issues with Boeing are not material, stating that it received unacceptable work from Boeing. The company also believes that the IP in question is either owned or licensed. Now, this could be a major concern because if they don't get this settled, or it costs more money, or it drags out, and Boeing can drag this out for a lot longer than Virgin Galactic can, that's another negative on their cash flow. So we need to bear that in mind as well. Until the new mothership is deployed, Virgin Galactic will need to increase flight frequency using its current ship. A major enhancement program for VMS Eve was completed in 2023. Virgin Galactic is also developing a targeted maintenance plan and operations schedule for Eve, which it expects to result in 3 space missions weekly. Relying on a dramatic increase in flight frequency to avoid bankruptcy is risky, though. Financial analysis. At the time of its SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition, blank check basically, Virgin Galactic expected its revenue to begin ramping in 2020. So we've been here before making projections and we've missed. Now this could happen all over again. With the company reaching EBITDA break even at around $200 million revenue, Virgin Galactic was also projecting a gross profit margin approaching 75% and an EBITDA margin of close to 50%, although both of these figures appear very optimistic. The company now expects revenue to increase significantly with the introduction of the Delta ship in 2026. Virgin Galactic also plans on raising ticket prices to better capitalize on its pricing power. There is backlog of lower price flights, but that must be worked through before Virgin Galactic fully begins to realize higher prices, though. There is a little over 600 astronauts at lower price points, which will likely take around a year to work through. Now, I know, having spoken to Eric, that they can bump up any time passengers they want to. They don't really want to jump the queue, but they can do if they need to. If there is scientific flights where they earn more money, they could push that up if they needed to earn more revenue. So that's not completely a problem. They could bump them up, but that is an issue to bear that in mind. There is little over 600 astronauts at lower price points, which would likely take around a year to work through. Virgin Galactic's projections are for when this lower price backlog has been exhausted. The company is working on an assumption of $600 per ticket pricing and 125 flights per year, with 6 passengers per flight. This would give the company a $450 million annual run rate. Very, very nice indeed. Virgin Galactic's projected annual revenue run would likely not be enough for the company to achieve profitability, however, even with a 75% contribution margin to each flight. Operating expenses remain in excess of $100 million, driven by research and development. R&D spending is primarily related to the development of the Delta-class spacecraft and will presumably decline substantially once development is complete. Virgin Galactic will need to shift some spending toward the development of its next generation mothership, though. Virgin Galactic's free cash flow was negative $126 million in the first quarter, with the company expecting a further $110 to $120 million cash outflow in the second quarter. At the end of March 2024, the company had $867 million cash equivalents and marketable securities. I do not believe that Virgin Galactic has significant sufficient liquidity to reach break even. Even if there are no issues. The company is still 2 years away from generating meaningful revenue. Virgin Galactic has close to $500 million debt, and its low market capitalization will make it difficult for the company to meaningfully extend the runway. I agree with that. I'm sad to say there only needs to be the most smallest of a downside, and this all goes down the toilet very, very quickly. And as we've seen before, the projections they've made in the past didn't come to much. We only need a very small outside macro condition, perhaps inflation to resurface, rates go up again, or as we're expecting to see them drop shortly, and that could completely throw a spanner in the works. Anyway, let's move on now to our conclusion of this analysis. Virgin Galactic may appear attractively priced given the size of the opportunity ahead of it, but this reflects the company's precarious financial position and long path to commercial operations. If Virgin Galactic could achieve positive free cash flow without significantly diluting existing investors, there would be substantial upside. I don't see how this is possible given that Virgin Galactic's need to finance operations for at least the next 2 years and develop and build its Delta-class ships. Final point. Even if Virgin Galactic can successfully scale up its business, I'm not overly optimistic about the company's prospects. I tend to think that the demand will be less than anticipated and the pricing is unlikely to hold up long term with even a modest amount of competition. Margins are also likely to be quite low. As a result, I believe there is far too much risk for the relatively limited upside. All right, well, I'd like to thank Richard Durant for that analysis, and I hope you enjoyed my comment to it throughout. I do think Virgin Galactic now has huge potential, but huge potential does not make a great opportunity for an investment. Right now, there are many, many opportunities on the markets. We've got AI, we've got many other things, EVs, VTOLs, and I only have to show you my portfolio. This is my portfolio, which I started with $5,000. And as you can see, my Roth, my main account are all booming. And I'm now about to hit $100,000. I'm not doing any shorts, no options whatsoever. So the point of this is there are many, many other things to invest my money in. I don't see right now Virgin Galactic is the best use of my money. Because if you park your money in Virgin Galactic for the next couple of years, and even if it's successful and then starts to multiply in the following 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, by the time we get to a modest growth, I have already made 30, 40, 50%. Remember, every 7 years, the safest asset you can own, the S&P 500, doubles. And at the moment, with its tech-weighted portfolio and AI exploding with no sight ahead of a slowdown, rates about to come down, inflation falling like a rock if you use forward trajectory, not backward-looking trajectory like the Fed does. There are many other things to invest your money in without the risk, without the drama, and give you a very, very good return. At the end of the day, you have to know what your goals are. I know what my goals are. My goals are to achieve $100,000 by the end of this year. That's all I ever wanted to do when I started 3 years ago. I'm about to hit that in days, and 1 million within 6 years, and that's going to happen as well. So do I need to risk my money on Virgin Galactic? Well, you decide. I hope you enjoyed this. Click above my head for further links down below in the description. And once again, thank you, Richard Durant, for your analysis. Over here, I shall put more reviews, and down here, I shall put the Virgin Galactic playlist. I look forward to seeing you on another live show. If you do comment below, I will reply to all of my members' questions. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.